Alright, hey guys, this is Moron Productions again on the 4673, and I am back in Lean at Arms, part 11. Gonna pour some tea now because I never planned this out, because I like to stay spontaneous, because that's a great thing to be. Don't plan so much, just go with it, yeah. I don't know, I kind of swing from the most spontaneous person in the world and the most planned out person in the world, so yeah, I don't know what to say. But anyway, we're gonna go and intervene in the conflict between brains, cause we brains like that, yeah. Never try to sound American, ever fucking again, Nana. You are offending more than you are making people laugh. You are never making people laugh. Shut up, Nana. Alright. And I already mentioned this is the swearing thing, so yeah, I'm sorry. But when things are going on like this, I can't control myself. I get way too into the story. Anyway, let's go. Let's go. I just spit on the screen. I am charming like that. And I'm gonna have to take the volume a bit down. There you go. I never know with the volume. The tension between the prelate and the archmagus is becoming an increasing concern. The troops are beginning to notice their behavior towards each other and on their own. Various rumors were being spread about the two of them, anything from wild allegations of an intimate encounter gone poorly, or to unlikely claims of witnessing I don't know if I read that right. I may be stupid, but the first I thought was like either they had really bad sex together, and then she's like, it's even more unlikely that they got into a fight. I think they're properly shagging each other though. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm good. Go now. They're definitely shagging each other. I can just imagine, because like Alex is like a bit like she's a little bit like Heather here from the Orange High School Club, and I can just imagine she's going, yeah, they're definitely shagging each other. God, what am I doing? It was becoming a distraction, and not a welcome one. If the troops didn't have confidence in their general's moral was sure to plummet. This needed to be solved straight away. I like how I just come up with the most, like, unserious things in this extremely serious game. I don't think I'm helping Alex. I actually think Alex, like, sitting here in the game while I'm rambling about stuff, and it's like, can we stop talking about two hot guys shagging each other and, like, get on with this thing? It's called a war. God, love it. However, I wasn't certain who would be the best to approach in the matter. Rubus! If anything had gone wrong between the two of them, I had a strong suspicion that Rubus was the root of it. The prelate was not the type to make waves. I didn't want to make any assumption before learning the truth, but it was hard not to, knowing the archmagus. I found him easily. Yeah, he's like so tall he could barely fit into the screen. And he's beautiful. Tea sip, I'm talking way too much. My throat isn't used to it. Or maybe it is. Archmagus, do you have a moment? Well, I haven't much else to do. What is it? I need some answers. And you think I might provide with them? I certainly hope so. What's going on between you and the prelate? What? I honestly don't know. He refuses to see me, and he will not say why. He's behaving like a stubborn child. That does not sound like him. Do you think you did something to upset him? Not to my knowledge. Even if I had, I cannot surmise what that would be. I have pondered the matter, and nothing comes to mind. If you wish to know more about his mental state, you better ask the man himself. Perhaps your status might work in your favor. My attempts of reconciliation has gained no traction. Maybe. Have you tried asking him what's bothering him? I don't think my intervention will have much effect if you're the one he's upset with. And how do you propose I do that? He hardly even speaks to me. I'm going between don't want to talk to Lucius, cause I'm on Rubus's path, but still wanting to help Rubus. Fuck it, Rubus, do it yourself, man. I don't know, but I think you ought to try. The two of you are friends, and if you hurt him, or even if he only feels you did, no one's help is going to fix that but your own. I will also talk to him in the meantime, but I suggest you make efforts to go resolve this soon. It's becoming a distraction. Is that understood? Consider me a skeptic, but I fear this task may for once be beyond me. But yes, I understand. Thank you. If I learn anything, I'll let you know. You have my thanks, Commander. If Rubus could not offer a solution, then I had to hope Lucius could. Being the prelate and all, after all, he could always be counted for an honest answer. Almost. Always. I approached him hopefully. Hello, Commander. May I help you with something? I'd like to ask you something. Do you have a moment? Of course. What is it? It's actually something personal. Come this way. We moved to the side of the road away from the advancing army. It's about you and Rubus, actually. There's something strange between the two of you lately. Is there? I hadn't noticed. Oh, bullshit. Excuse me. Such words from a lady's mouth. I don't know what's going on. If that was an attempt at sarcasm, then he needed far more practice. Perhaps to confirm this he sighed. I don't know what you've heard, but none of this is true. Then could you maybe consider telling me what it is? His eyes suddenly turned cold. He stared down at the ground. I got the feeling that I had done something very offensive by asking. Rubus is not the person I thought he was. What do you mean? I mean that I'm beginning to learn it was foolish to waste my time in his company. I apologize, Commander. I did not intend to speak out of bounds. The conflicts between the Archmagus and I is not something I wish to speak about right now. I hope you won't take my reticence as an impudence. There are other matters on my mind. Leaving him be would go on his path, so fuck no! Lucius, if there's anything you can let me know in order to resolve this, you need to tell me. We really don't have time for either of you to be distracted. If you want to learn more, I suggest you apply the Archmagus for that information. He seems to be very fond of knowledge lately. What does that mean? If anyone can explain his behavior, it would be him. There's not much I can tell you regarding the matter. I was quickly becoming frustrated, but tried to keep my voice down. Well, if anything does happen, tell me. We can't afford to have either of you distracted at a time like this. Is that understood? Of course, Commander. Good, I'm really counting on you. Before I could grow any more annoyed, I took my leave. I had learned nothing except for the fact that both of these men acted very much like children when they fought. There was nothing I could do without knowing more, so I still had the rest of the army to look out for, as well as the king. I rejoined him in Lorinet. The next morning I woke up with a lighter heart than I expected. I hadn't even noticed my heart had grown heavy in the first place. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. It's kind of shit right now. This was going to be the day everything was over. Oh, that's why. I even had a smile on my face I couldn't wipe away. The grounds were quiet. The soldiers weren't excited. The snow disappeared, and then because it snowed, work. I love that. The soldiers were in an excited hush to hear the king's new announcement. Please, Alastor, I don't want this to be fucked. I walked proudly next to him as he rallied the men. Oh, you look happy. It's going to be a great day today, men. The long march to Queen Charlotte's door will soon be over. My father only ever wanted to speak to the queen, and he felt that she would never hear him unless he broke down her door. Well, men, we're close to that door, and we will be breaking it down, for fuck's sake. My Hank sighed. Oh god, my heart sank further than I thought possible. I was certain I'd heard him wrong. The confused buzzing of the men quieted when King Alastor's expression changed. Queen Charlotte does not know me. She considers me my father, and while I hope that will change once I speak with her, she will never just let us walk into her home without a fight. If you want peace quickly, then we will need to go to her door quickly. I will be trusting you men with this task. Stay strong, fight hard, and know when this is know that when this is over, Offria and Fulgard will have settled their differences, one way or another. Holy God damn it, Alastor! Jesus Christ, why are you doing this? The king moved into his tent soon after, and I followed. What is this about? I thought we were gonna end this. We are ending it. It'll be up to Queen Charlotte if it's with a handshake of blood. But if you just... I'm sorry, I don't recall asking your opinion on this, Commander. Fuck you! Yeah, I said it. I freaking said it. Fuck you. God damn it. I suggest you go see your men instead of questioning my decisions. Bitch slap! Give him a bitch slap, somebody! He's totally not in his right mind! Who said he could rule? He's blood, but that doesn't matter. I could feel my face heating with anger. Go get him! I nodded firmly and filed up. Go get him! Damn it! Why is he king? It's not fun! You can't insult a king without getting your head chopped off! Damn it! You, good sir, are an asshole. Thank you. After the king's declaration, the army quickly fell into disarray. Before I realized it, the army was advancing towards their waiting Guardians. Commander Lorryman was suddenly nowhere to be found. A few words from the generals and my orders quickly got things under control, but those few moments of confusion was enough to leave us vulnerable. With a slight buzzing noise, a small hail of arrows hit the right flank of the army, killing some of the soldiers instantly, but sending others to the ground, howling in pain. What little we'd managed to achieve quickly vanished as the people both tried to locate the foe and get out of the range of arrows. The woods! The Solguardians are in the woods! A quick look confirmed that he was right, and the next... I can't even breathe. I can't even breathe it, because I am so pissed. I am like going crazy pissed. This could have been a new beginning. Like, the old king was dead, fuck Solguardians, but now they got their revenge from taking all the soldiers and being treated badly. And then, freaking Alastor, okay, I know your dad died, but god damn it, this is not just about you. Bah! Bah! I'm gonna still see on my computer, and that's not gonna work out for any of us, is it? Is it, Alastor? You piece of shit! Oh my god, why can't I stop getting into this story? I don't know what is going on. Right, okay, Morty and battle. They probably put up archery platforms while we've been marching down here to meet them. With Laura met away, there was no way for Silgard to know we were coming to sue for peace. At least, we had been planning to. That problem could wait. The immediate one was the fact that we were in the middle of the road, exposed with full wood of archers on the side and a sheer cliff on the other, cause, Silgard had planned this pretty well. We were in a terrible position tactically. Excuse me, and the attack meant there wasn't much time to consider other options. We needed to move quickly if we wanted to turn the tide. Oh my god, are you doing this? The question was, move back to the road, get out of range. Move closer to the cliffs and try to get in a defensible position, form up and defend our current position. I don't know. Arrows, we ain't gonna fight arrows. There wasn't much in the way to cover out here. We need to fall back and retreat back down the road. Would be quick and keep us from losing more men. Fall back. Rally down the road past the tree line. Archers, form up and cover the army. After I turned to lead the army back to the rally point, I could hear the officers bellowing the order at the men, quickly getting them in line so they could move. It would give away what we were doing, but there was no point in being subtle right now. We were exposed. Silgard would figure out what we were doing quickly enough. In a scramble of hoofs and reinforced boots, our army pulled back, arrows picking off the men too slow, already injured. picking off the men too slow or already injured. The confusion of the retreat was working to Silgard's advantage. Fuck. Okay, so that didn't work out the way I wanted it to, so we're gonna try something else. Move closer to the cliffs, that's gonna kill us, ain't it? With forest enemies, however, the base of the cliffs surrounded by broken rocks and raised terrain, it would be difficult to take position there, but the enemy would have a hard time getting to us. It wasn't ideal, but it was workable, and that was what we needed at the moment. So the cliff base, I'm sorry for reading through this, but I don't want this. Couldn't extend that cover. It was not perfect retreat, but it was okay. Few losses. That's good. That's good then. We were in good enough shape and in position to mount a proper offense. We had suffered losses, but the army was out of line of fire of Silgard's archers. For the moment, we had to catch our breath and think of a plan. Still, it wouldn't last long. Silgard wouldn't respond to us just with their archers. We'd seen that during the battle at the Goddess Bridge. If we were going to survive, we needed a plan, and quick, as now that the last arrow had embedded itself on the ground, a steady rumbling was starting to make itself heard. It sounded like a distant thunder, a cacophony of hooves, tech, armor, and weaponry rolling down the road in an ominous preview of what was to come. Silgard's main force was likely coming now that the archers had failed. Crap! Something needs to be done quickly. Form up the army with the foot soldiers carrying polar arms in front to create a defensive line. Divide up the forces so that the foot soldiers and archers hold the main force while the cavalry clears out the archers in the forest. Have Rufus use magic to assist in dealing with one part of the force. Rufus, go girl! Boy. Having a magical aid in this battle seemed like it would be a real advantage, especially since we had lost many men already. I had one of them get Rufus. It was better to hear if he had any ideas before setting up this as an option. You want to see me, Commander? Yes, I want to know if you had some magical alternative to help us in this situation. Well, the easiest and quickest that wouldn't drain me too much would setting part of the forest canopy ablaze. It would certainly take a persistent archer problem quickly. The other option is softening the ground so that the charging Guardians and their mounts would have difficult time building any momentum. That wouldn't be necessarily stop them, but it would keep them from doing any serious damage. However, it would affect our own men, so I suggest you keep that in mind before you choose. Either wouldn't take me long. Poof, forest! Set the canopy on fire. Those archers are our biggest concern, and they're only going to get worse once the main force makes an appearance. I agree. I'll hold off setting it alight with the army in its sight. Mounts don't react well to fire, and with the riders not expecting it, it should throw a charge of balance. Sounds like a good plan. We need to get every advantage we can get. That was my thinking as well. I'll stand for your signals to light the fire. I trust you to you're better to judge tactically favorable situation for it. Understood. The men had formed up, and now it was simply a matter of waiting. Rufus stood nearby, so he could easily hear or see whatever signal I decided to use and let him know to act. A quick but intricate series of arcane sigils was drawn at his feet. His calm presence was hardening, actually. The waiting was nerve-wracking, and all of the people needed not to show it. If the commander couldn't stay calm about the upcoming battle, how could these men? Granted, this was the first battle I was probably a commander of. The Battle of Goddess Bridge happened so quickly I hadn't had time to dwell on what was coming. But still, I needed to act as though I was in control, even when I wasn't. Were in control. The sudden deafening silence brought out my thoughts. So Guardian main army had arrived. God damn it, why did you lose yourself in thought? They pulled to a halt close where the ambush had happened, their free and dead still littering the road by their feet. It also meant they were fairly close to the woods, probably because they assumed that flank was protected. I turned to Rufus. Now. He nodded and leaned down to activate his prepared magics. At first nothing happened, and I wondered if he perhaps didn't actually prepare the spell properly. And then, all at once, the lower canopy of trees lining the road and probably a few further back ignited in large hungry red flames. Cries of confusion, panic, and pain went from the forest, and the choking smoke emerging from fire. A few obscured figures lit up in flame could be seen falling from the trees. The Solgardian mounts, caught off guard by the sudden fires, began panicking. The more experienced cavalrymen could bring theirs to heels, but many were not so lucky and found themselves thrown up or having tried to calm the mount, bolting not as far away from the fire as it could be. The foot soldiers likewise were in disarray, in a combination of fire and confusion in the cavalry ranks, making things worse amongst the rest of the army. More than a few of our soldiers let out a cheer at this confusion, though thankfully no one seemed reckless enough to break the lines. In spite of the fire, eventually the Solgardian forces got organized enough to charge, but it was less coordinated than it likely would have been if the fire hadn't exploded so near their lines. We were more than ready for them. Solgard's confusion had hardened the men considerably, and their sloppy charge had only built on that. As the Solgardian cavalry crashed into our line, the holes in their forces were made obvious by the number of footmen impaled by the pole-arm blade. Still, the force of their charge could not be stopped and pushed against the line, making it waver in place like a young sapling bending in the wind. Our line bent, but it did not break as men, mounts, and blades all clashed together in the ringing clamor of battle. The uneven terrain allowed us an advantage, as Solgard's men and mounts struggled to find footing among the blades of polearms and swords. Any attempt to work their way around the rocky aspects of our defense was quickly met with arrows and cavalry. We were not winning, but at least we were holding our ground. Solgard's charge had force, and they fought fiercely, but the panic the sudden conflagration had caused was not so easily shaken. Their vanguard was fractured in ways easily exploited, and our soldiers needed little prompting to take advantage of it. I had to issue a few orders to keep the more serious fighters from breaking from the line to take further advantage in Solgard's disjointed assault. While we now had a significant advantage, it needed to be used intelligently, and Solgard would turn the situation to their advantages as we had theirs. I needed to think this through quickly. Solgard might get a chance to regroup probably, and we would lose our edge. A loud cheer erupted from the soldiers around me. The plan had worked, and the charge was broken. We had held fast despite the odds. There wasn't much time for celebration, however, as the Solgardians that did manage to get over the line were doing so with fire and passion. And why wouldn't they? We had superior numbers, but they were fighting for something. They were protecting their homes, their family, and their livelihood. We were the invaders, and they were going to drive us out. I didn't really have much choice but to try and stop them. Solgard was my home, and I would have been first down those lines to protect it. But right now, I wasn't a Solgardian farmer under the protection of a retired knight. I was an Offrian commander, sworn to the Offrian king, and there were men who trusted me to keep them alive. I had to do whatever I could to deserve that trust. I had to keep them alive, even if it meant losing the ability to live with myself. Thankfully, our plan prevented their archers from being able to do much to us, but the rest of the army still remained to be dealt with. James! I didn't need to call out to him twice, but that didn't surprise me much. He tended to stay near Nick as often as he could. Yes, Commander. Can you do something about the next assault closing in? I don't know exactly what I can do for that. I know exactly what I can do for that. And that would be shrapnel mines. We've been collecting scrap metal for exactly this sort of problem. This man was far too excited about the prospect of shredding people with metal and explosives. Yeah, he is. So, you'd have your men put them down, and then we have to lure the enemy across them. You think you could do that quickly? I know it. With some coordination with the other units, we could have them down before Solgard gets itself together and offer a second charge. I would have asked Nick what he thought, but I'd sent him out to deal with their archers. Based on the small inferno that used to be a forest, he seemed to be quite busy with that. I rolled options around in my head for a few moments, and I realized it just might be safer to lure their army into an opening and then surround them. You know what? I actually think the shredding thing is awful, but it's also awfully smart. So I think we're gonna do that. Okay, James, we'll give you mine to go. Yes! You better do well, okay? This is like life or death situation, James. James practically skipped over to the other mechanics, and I got a sick feeling in my stomach. I might just have made a terrible mistake. It was hard to keep up with what the mechanics were putting the mines, where the mechanics were putting the mines down, which should have been the first red flag. I presumed it was in front of our lines, but with a quiet sigh of dread, I grabbed one of the runners I had to inform that we'd been feigning retreat to draw Sulgan in my word. I think Jane's betraying us. Should buy us enough time to reform the lines quickly after the move into retreat. From the rumble of Peter Silgard saw the retreat as an opportunity and was taking it. Holy shit! They realized the mistake of that only after the first explosion went up, filling the air with smoke, dirt, and jagged metal. The constant force of the blast disrupted their lines, and the blood-chilling screams of pain from man, mountain alike definitely confirmed that they were affected. However, the next set of mines went off so near our rear, tearing through the men in back as well as the St. Guardian lines. Such! When James got back to my relative, he was apparently cackling. If I didn't know better, I would have thought him mad given how much he was enjoying the increasingly brutal carnage of his mines, which were wrecking on friend and foe alike. At least we mostly cleared the minefield, so our losses were minimal, but the vicious injuries of the dead and dying didn't let me take much joy in that. The Guardian lines were shredded, and they were approaching us cautiously. We were also that much further out of range of the archers, so this had worked out well, all things considered. We pressed our new advances as much as possible, slowly grinding Silgard down and thinning its numbers. It was only a matter of time now before they surrendered or attempted to retreat. Of course, our good fortune wouldn't last. One of the runners sprinted up to me, completely out of breath. He was one of the ones designated to run orders from the front lines. Fuck! Okay, we going back. I'm not doing this. I can't do this. Nick is not gonna die. I don't care what is gonna happen. Luring them into an opening would be the safest choice in the long run, but also the most costly right away. Go up to the men at the front, tell them to fake a break in the line. I want to lure the Solgadians into an opening. I grabbed the runner who had been standing not too far from where I was. So to gather the 3 men you can from unit, I want to box the Solgadians in when they start to filter into the false opening. The soldier nodded, saluted, and rushed off as he was told. All I could do was wait and hope that everything worked out as it should. The break in the line formed quite naturally, looking as though it was an absolute mistake of the men themselves or a wrong order from a surgeon. Whoever thought to do that probably deserved a promotion. I'd find out who decided to include that detail. Silgard, who had been more wary of our force since we very obviously noticed the question was whether they'd take the bait or not. Silgard formed tight wedge and drove into the false opening. Good, they were taking it. Now it's a matter of time, of letting them get it far into the center of the army close around them. Tearing away into a force with curiosity and surprise, and hopefully these men were fighting defensively at the moment of charge cost us an upsetting amount of men. Still, it did place their army well behind our line. I let the charge work its way a bit closer to the heart of our forces before giving the order. Now, close up! The foot soldiers moved so to close the gap, slowly closing the open space with pikes and swords. It was slower than I would have liked, and let Silgard get far too close to the center of our forces them more comfortable. However, it was subtle enough that the force didn't seem to realize they were boxed in until the opening had been fully sealed by men and blades. A cry of dismay and panic went up the Solgardian forces as they sunk in what they'd charged into. With the gap closed, the men quickly switched from defending themselves to pushing the attack, closing in on Silgard on all sides, driving back with blades until they were so tightly packed they had nowhere left to flee. As the situation became increasingly desperate, Silgard fought viciously, trying to cut their way through the rise of men they had repeatedly wedged themselves into. However, at this point there was very little way for them to escape unless they managed to organize enough to force their way through the line at a significant cost. The Silgardian soldiers was panicked enough to make that difficult.
One unit did manage to reopen a route in our lines, but it was so small and wasn't a fully viable escape route. We pressed our new advantages as much as possible.
I'm sorry, I don't see it when the recorder stops because I'm so into the story. I'm sorry. We pressed on our advantage as much as possible, slowly grinding and thinning its numbers. It was only a matter of time before they surrendered and attempted to retreat. Of course, our good fortune wouldn't last. Okay. Fuck that. Sprint up to me completely almost one of. So, no matter what, Nick isn't coming back? I just couldn't let personal attachment affect my judgment. I let it affect my judgment! I trust the assistant commander can bring his men back alive. Have the pikemen hold and tell the archers to focus fire on the rear archers. We need to keep remaining archers from forming up and taking advantage of our split forces. Yes, sir. The soldier rushed off to deliver my orders. The orders traveled quickly. The pikemen who had still their polearms. Crap! The hero's archers as ordered. The Bulgarian recurve bows meant that there were a lot of mobile despite still firing. However, without cover, Mimpy was simply not fast enough to avoid our arrows. It took only a few volleys for them to retreat further back to get out of range, leaving our cavalry free to make a mad dash for our lines before they reformed. Though the archers hadn't been on them for too long, they still lost a substantial amount of men. As selfless as it was, I couldn't help but pray that Nick wasn't among those perished. It took far too long, in my opinion, for the cavalry to properly rejoin our lines. It took even longer than before I could hear my brother's voice, thank fucking God, call out to me over the din of the combat. He had to get fairly close to even be heard, which at least meant I could see that he was relatively unharmed. The cavalry is back to the main body of the army. We'd lost a lot of good men out there, but most of us made it back in one piece. I did my best, Alex. Hopefully it was enough. It looks like it was, but we'll see if it will make a difference. At least you made it back to us, and now that we have the cavalry, we can end this. We have the pikemen lead the push to break the Bulgarian force, and the cavalry slowly crush inward towards our movement. Just do that. At this point, it will be easy enough to drive the Guardians back towards the cliffs. Even if they broke our lines, they'd still get it between unyielding cliffs and our remaining force. It wouldn't give them anywhere to go but through us, and we had the numbers to make that costly. It would take a bit more time than simply crushing them between our units, but it would minimize the loss of life, and that alone balanced it as a viable option. Pulling a run out of the ferry, I raised my voice just loud enough to be heard over the din. Get the pikemen to the front. We're driving Sulgard back against the cliffs. He nodded and pushed his way to the. I'm so bad at strategy things. It's awful. The pikemen moved forward as ordered, or at least who had still polearms to wield. The combat had been brutal on them. They moved aggressively, driving Sulgard through the force where we needed them to be. From more resistant pockets of Sulgard's soldiers, the archers thinned their ranks enough to encourage them to move. However, as we pushed them more towards the cliff face, the commanders seemed to realize that what we were doing as the Sulgardians pushed against the pipeline with curiosity born of desperation. Eventually they tore through the lines, and we'd almost ground them immediately against the cliff face. The remaining soldiers who hadn't been felled made to flee as a significant number of falling to arrows and blades as they made a mad dash through a rather large concentration of our army. Sulgardian forces rejoined the archers further back the road, staying long enough to reform into semblance of a fighting force before making a hasty tactical retreat. The men let out a roaring cheer as the tattered remains of the Sulgardian army fled up the road where they came. I
half expected some to push for charging after them, but it seemed like the desperate battle we just fought was enough to convince even the most zealous soldier that giving a chase was a bad idea. That was relieving, but it did mean that we had the immediate problem of tending to the injured and the dead. The king walked over with a light smile on his face. "Fuck you, this is all your fault!" I just got news from the front. You've done it, Commander. More men were lost than I would have liked, but it was still a victory for us all the same. I nodded at the king and attempted to return the smile, but I couldn't help but escape how nauseous this made me feel. Reek of death and blood was suffocating. We'd be building an upsetting amount of funeral pyres before the sun set. All because of me. If I had commanded more efficiently. Could I have done better? Oh man. I found it hard to pay attention as Prelate Lucius pontificated the funeral rites. I'd have most of my focus on the crackling flames until I heard my brother derisively click his tongue against his teeth. I glanced in the direction he was glaring to spot a few men talking amongst themselves, quietly, so as to not disturb the ceremony, but talking. I couldn't really blame them. We'd all heard the funeral rites a dozen times before. Everyone was cold and tired from the fight, and it was obvious no one wanted to be here. Probably not even Prelate Lucius. I have to end the episode here. I'll see you in the next one. Apparently I'm a shit commander, so yeah. Maybe I shouldn't be one. Damn.